Welcome. BitmonkeyTV, episode 20. My name is Marcelo. Thanks for tuning in. For the two live viewers on Twitch, thanks for bringing that to my attention. I had no idea that mic was on mute. As you've noticed, today's a different scenery. Just one of us, just solo. Scott was feeling a little under the weather. I won't speak too much on what's going on. He can tell you on Wednesday, but let's wish him all the best. Hope he recoups throughout the rest of the day. So, and on that note, it's funny. I think today's topic isn't going to be about tech. It's not going to be about crypto. It's going to be about routine. It's going to be about observation. It's going to be about perspective. And the reason I brought this up is I've been noticing certain things in my routine, certain areas that I've been slacking. Like I've been slacking tough. And maybe that's not the right word to describe, but I have not been consistent, and what used to be not even a second thought of being disciplined with those routines morning and evening, I've been slacking in that sense, and I have to hold myself accountable. So what's funny is when Scott and I were talking earlier today, we both talked about a thought we both had yesterday, and we were not in communication yesterday, right? It was the weekend, so we were completely disconnected, and we had a very similar thought, and it was just really crazy how everything synced in that sense, right? We're working closely on this project together, and it's just really amazing to see that in our personal lives we're having these certain thoughts of there's areas that I can improve, so it's time to start holding ourselves accountable and acting on that rather than thinking the thought. So one thing I'll share with you is my sleep pattern. It's been all off, and that's when I was going off on that rant. When shout out Gary, shout out Cam for tuning in. I appreciate you guys. When I was going off on that verbal rant right there, and you couldn't hear me, I was talking about sleep. I was talking about how when Monkey Bites became Monkey Bites, what it is today, right? I was neglecting sleep, and it wasn't so bad at first, right? I was, normally I would be in bed 9, 10 p.m., get up for 5 a.m. I haven't been as strict with that schedule this year as I've normally been in previous years, but I noticed I started to kind of shift away from that. 2 a.m. hit. All right, whatever. Sleep until 9 or 10. Then ultimately what happens with that, if I don't wake up early like I normally love to, man, I lose so much of my day. And I've had to pull certain days where I'm up till 4 a.m. have to get up at 7 for a call at 8. All right, fuck it. Let's take a little 90-minute power nap and rinse and repeat. Now, as many of you know, I'm 32 at this point in time, 2021. My body cannot handle those nights like it used to. It simply can't. The energy it takes from me the following day is out of this world. So I try to avoid that as much as possible. Now, when you have the energy that kind of comes to mind that I'm speaking of, that helped form Monkey Bites, I don't regret it at all. I don't regret the sleepless nights. I don't regret missing out on sleep on certain nights where I had to, when I was in such a flow that I knew if I went to bed, I would have missed out on what I was building, which section of the project I was working on that night, right? So every single night contributes to the project, and I don't regret it. But now it's time to fix that part of my routine, to become more disciplined and more consistent in my approach, so that I don't have these parts of the day where my judgment's cloudy or I need to drink a ton of caffeine to push through the day. My ideal routine is waking up nice and early, taking care of all of my personal exercise, any personal reading, journaling, anything like that before 7 a.m. So ideally, wake up 4 or 5. Tomorrow I'm going to do a 4:20 wake up. As many of you know why. 4:20 is, I like that number, so why not? So tomorrow kickstarts 4:20 a.m. and I'm going to do a 90-day challenge where I'm just going to take it one step at a time, right? As much as I want to layer a lot of different things into this challenge, the less you put into this challenge, the less you're going to let yourself down if you do fail, if you do have a hiccup, if you do run into a problem. So that's one thing I've learned, right, when building personal routines and trying to improve that side of my life. don't be so hard on yourself, because we're all going to make mistakes, right? We're all going to fail. Now, whether or not you hold yourself accountable is entirely up to you. You know, that takes a lot of time and work and confidence that, you know, you can fuck up and still be a good person. You know, you can make mistakes and still be a good person in life, right? You can hold yourself accountable and still be perceived as a good person in life. But I know that's not always talked about, right? That's sometimes brushed under the rug. So let's talk. Let's see. So 4:30 a.m. is going to be one of them. I'm going to get back to, yes, fall forward. Can you turn the background music down a little bit? Of course. Looks like I got to keep refreshing that window too, because I don't see your chat pop up normally. Just give me one moment here. So I'm going to put it all the way down to 1, and I think it's much better. Let me just pull up the live chat stream, because this Streamlabs OBS, I did not see that comment come in for a little while. And then I think a part of this, since we're talking about routines, perspective, I'd like to share with you what my go-to morning and evening routines were, you know, before I lost what my balance, right? Go-to morning and evening routines were. Better, thanks. Cool. Cool. Yeah, so going back to the topic, you know, first thing I'm going to do is just wake up early, you know, and in order to do that in anything in life, right, you got to set yourself up for success, right? And I'm going to give an analogy I learned in dog training. Let's say you're trying to train your dog not to be around the dinner table. Actually, that's going to be a bad analogy. Actually, no. Fuck it. Let's go with it. See, I don't have Scott here today to kind of pull me away from these squirrel thoughts, you know. So this is gonna be very, very interesting to do alone. And it's already begun too. Squirrel. So let's go back to it, right? You don't try to train a dog and set themselves up for failure, right? You want to encourage success in every way, shape, or form. So let's say you're trying to train a dog to not go underneath the table, right? When there's people. Well, you generally want to train that dog with minimal people there. Yes, I know that sounds contradictory, right? You generally want to put them in these situations to make them uncomfortable, to test them. But if you first teach them the basics of what you're trying to accomplish, of the communication that you're trying to communicate with your pet, in a calm environment, safe, right? Not too many new faces and smells. Once you have that underlying trust on a foundational level, then you incorporate one added distraction at a time. You'll find you'll have more success, and you won't be beating your head against the wall trying to train your dog, right? And that's just one example. That might have not been the best example, and I will admit I'm out of practice. So, but I hope the reference, or, you know, the way I tried to describe that made sense to you guys. I just want to update the chat. And let's see, going back to it, I'm going to layer in, you know, as many of you've learned with me, I have what's called my 7 agreements. I think that's a good thing. I'll share my morning routine, you know, what I'm going to kickstart up tomorrow. But generally my mornings will start off like this. Wake up 4 or 4:30, between 4 and 5, right, in the past. And the very first thing I do is drink a mason jar full of lukewarm water, right, room temperature water. I started doing this, I forget which podcast I came across. I'm going to have to reference this at a later time, but instead of going to coffee, instead of going to an energy drink or something to pick you up right out of bed, you're actually training your body not only to become dependent on that substance, whatever's in there, but you're also not giving it the training it needs to create that energy on its own, right? We have our own internal clocks, and we all operate differently, right? Whether you're graveyard or not, depending on your work schedule. I can't speak for everybody. However, Do this for a month and you'll see a big difference. If you wake up without caffeine for that first hour, hour and a half, you're gonna notice that, yeah, that first week is gonna be tough. First 10 days, 14 days is gonna be really tough to naturally get that energy within that hour, 2 hours. However, after 2-3 weeks, you're gonna notice your body is gonna start to adapt, and it's gonna start creating that energy for you because you've been training your body, right? Not to consume caffeine when you first wake up. Now, I have a feeling, I haven't uploaded the comments, but Gary might be upset at that comment. I remember you saying you love coffee. So, I mean, just food for thought. There's just something I learned along the way. I will admit, recently, I had been doing that. You know, not today, but yesterday, yeah. I woke up. It was a Sunday, mind you, and it was a Sunday after a wedding. So I didn't get to do my disconnect and reflect. But it was nice seeing some old friends and a childhood friend that I grew up with, used to paintball with back in the day, and I think we've sparked that itch, right? We're gonna start putting together the old crew and we're gonna start paintballing again because that was something we had a lot of fun doing. But going back to it, you know, yesterday I was just drained, right? And you know, I don't drink much anymore. Socially, yeah. I had a few beers. Man, it just like the next day, ooh. I feel like an old man talking. It's like the recovery and the just you know, that 24 to 36 hours is rough. So, you know, maybe that layered in there with everything going on, it was time for a change. So, damn, Scott, I wish you were here, man. You would have saved me from that squirrel moment. Where was I going with that? Let's see, I'm gonna read a comment here. We got Dream Joker, aka Gary. I wake up, stretch in bed, let the dogs out, start the coffee, drink 32 ounces of water, stretch the whole time while the coffee brews, let the dogs in, pet my dogs, and drink coffee before I even touch my phone or computer every morning. Man, I love that. I love that a lot. So I think the reason I chose a mason jar is because the one I have is 32 ounces, right? So it's a freaking big one, and I don't chug it, right? I'll generally pour it right in front of my mirror in my bedroom and just sit and drink, and just drink and drink and drink at a nice easy pace. And I will admit, when Optima was still around, she was a part of my morning routine. So it's been tough. It's been different without her, but you know, we wouldn't be talking if she was still here. So, you know, to each their own, right? It's you can find a positive in every negative. So super grateful, but it's, man, I love that. So out of curiosity, do you keep your phone in airplane mode? Drop a comment if you do, or do you generally just keep it face down? Do you still use it as an alarm clock? Because I'm curious on that, because part of my morning routine that I'm going to readopt, which I was still doing. So this was one thing I never slacked on. I turned my phone about 30 minutes before I go to bed into airplane mode. That kickstarts me brushing my teeth, me flossing my teeth, me taking a nice hot shower to kind of mimic, since I don't have a sauna here. I used to love going to the sauna every night before bed when I still had one accessible. And it creates a nice routine. And this all happens, you know, usually 45 minutes after a really big high carb meal. So not only after that meal am I feeling drowsy, right? But I'm setting myself up for success by turning off all notifications. Now, this is for me. I can't speak for everybody, right? Sometimes, you know, some people can't get away from the phone, whether it's a loved one who's on life support and they want to be up. You know, there's certain variables I can't speak on. I'm speaking on what I'm doing and why I'm doing it for me. So please don't take this the wrong way, anybody watching back in the future. You know, these are just my thoughts and opinions on routines in my life. I use it as an alarm clock, but I also need to be able to see exactly, right? So I just don't touch it until I'm ready. So I have so much respect for that, because I'm not a father. I know Gary's a father. I have observed friends, you know, I'm an observer, right? And I've seen childhood friends grow up in a sense of getting to a certain point in their life. And once you have a kid, man, you change for the better. Now, you may not always see it, but I'm sure it brings purpose, right? I'm sure there's a lot of other variables, but one of which is those emergency calls, right? I don't have kids like that. So for me, I don't need the emergency calls. Will I regret something happening to a family member and I'm not there to pick up the call? Well, chances are, with the way I sleep, I wouldn't wake up to the call anyway, right? Especially in the past. So I wouldn't feel so bad per se, but I have to respect everybody's life is different. Everybody's schedule is different. So these are just my opinions, right, on what works for me. But after that, I used to stretch, right? Movement, hydration, stretch. So that was one of my like first steps was hydrate and stretch. But then I broke it down even more. After that is always my agreements, my journaling, right? So after I'm done stretching, I'm still stretching as I start to write my journals. But generally, I used to be very strict with this. Have a gratitude and agreements journal. And I used to write 7 things I'm grateful for in separate lines. So I'm grateful for, I'm grateful for, I'm great, right? So repetitive. Just trying to train my brain. And that changed into a couple lines, a paragraph, right? Because I didn't want to be so static on that number in the morning, right? Because sometimes I'll get in the flow and I'll say, I'm grateful for, and then I write it in a sentence. I'm also grateful for X, Y, and Z. I'm grateful that I'm breathing today. What an amazing feeling. How would it feel if I couldn't breathe? I probably wouldn't be writing this, right? I have interactions with myself to just remind myself the simple effort of waking up is something to be grateful for. So that's always my number one after hydration and stretch, right? When I'm in the flow of my morning routines. And this is something I can't wait to get back on in the morning because I've been slacking. You know, like I said, my coffee used to be my go-to, and then I'd get to the journal. The tech was still off, but I'd do this all in front of my computer at my desk. Never used to do that, right? It's just kind of where I go to sit now. It's like I've programmed that into my mind, so it's time to change that. So then after that, I'll write out my 7 agreements that I am static on. Be impeccable with your word. So full transparency, 4 of these 7 agreements were inspired by Don Miguel Ruiz. So you're going to hear me reading these off by memory. I'm not plagiarizing. I'm not copying. I'm not claiming them to be mine. I did shift one of them a little bit. I added a word at the end because I feel like it was necessary, and you'll learn here in a moment. But number 1 is be impeccable with your word in everything you do. Right? This was something I didn't always have, right? I used to overpromise, underdeliver because I just wanted to make everybody happy. I wanted to be everybody's friend, whether it was professional, I was just doing things for the wrong reasons, and I wasn't doing them for myself, right? So be impeccable with your word. Don't take anything personally. This causes a lot of overthinking to occur in our daily lives, right? So that's number 2. Number 3, don't make any assumptions. That also causes a lot of overthinking too, amongst other feelings and variables, right? But those 2, I can't tell you how much growing up in the environment that I grew up with, my mother, God bless her heart, she worries quite a bit about her children. And rightfully so, right? Every mother should. But it's taught me how to not overthink and not worry, right? So in a way, her excessive worrying and overthinking throughout my childhood helped me become a more stable and present person. And while I used to overthink when I was younger quite a bit, that's almost non-existent. Anytime I have a thought, I have a trigger, a saying I say to myself that, it's one of these 7 agreements. So number 4, always do your best, this is my addition, no excuses. Because sometimes you can do your best, but there's an excuse, right? Let's say you were depending on your job, you were at a job site, but the materials that you brought with you in your toolbox weren't up to par. You go to the local hardware shop, those materials aren't up to par. But hey, you write it off as an excuse. No fucking excuses. Prep the day before, prep the week before. You know what I mean? Like, there should be no excuses, and I will admit, I still run into that issue, right? I always try to do my best. And then sometimes I'll think to myself, I'll layer in some type of excuse, and as I'm layering in this excuse mid-thought, I catch myself. I'm like, no excuses, bro. So that's number 4. Number 5 is cultivate instinct and desire. This one is interesting. It's also AKA follow your gut. This one shifts quite a bit. Number 5 is not static because I feel like that one's going to change down the road. But one thing I regret not doing more of is following my gut feeling about somebody, my gut feeling about energy, intent, belief. Because 10 times out of 10, I've been right when I had that feeling, but I was questioning it. You know what I mean? So that one's very important to me. Number 6 and 7. So number 5, I kind of picked up off of can't remember exactly where it is where from at this moment, but number 6 and number 7. I believe number 6 comes from a Deepak Chopra book, but I can't claim them to be my words. So cultivate compassion and understanding. And another word for empathy, if you think about it, right? Have empathy for other people. Have an understanding that not everybody has your shoes. Not everybody has your variables in life, right? People have different difficulties. So when you remind yourself to cultivate that compassion and understanding, you don't take things as personal, which ties in with another agreement. But I've just found, me personally, having an understanding that, I don't know what's going on in their life, so I'm not going to judge. Or maybe they respond a certain way to me. Maybe I'm out and about, and this has happened quite a bit. Somebody will respond so rude and negative. And in my younger days, I used to snap back. But now I take a step back and I smile, and I just have nothing but my heart's heavy for them, because I'm like, man, I wish I could share this knowledge with you. I wish I could let you know that responding this way is only going to dig you deeper into a hole. But you got to go through it to learn it. Excuse me. So number 7 is my favorite, as you guys could imagine. This also plays into 3 and 4 just a little bit, but I really wanted to remind myself of this, and it's don't use your energy to worry, use your energy to believe. I'm going to repeat that again. My 7th agreement that I write out every morning after my agreements, my gratitude little paragraph above it. I can even show you guys if you want, but is don't use your energy to worry, use your energy to believe. So let me give you an example. Let's say you're worrying about how you're going to look tomorrow at that presentation, right? Maybe you're worried about your appearance and your shirt's not ironed, or your pants have a crease or no crease if you're the type who want to rock a crease. Well, all that energy you use to worry would be better served if you just believed that you've prepped, that you were ready, that you've done everything that you need to do to be ready for that presentation tomorrow. So when you believe that you're ready, you don't worry about these minor details. And I know that's probably not the best example, but it was the first one that came to mind that I thought might be relatable to everybody watching. So yeah, so that's let's see, I'm gonna go by memory a little bit more. So after my agreements, I would always lace in some reading, 20 minutes of reading, 30 minutes of reading, and then on top of that, 30 minutes of language practice. So generally right now, French is what I'm relearning. I did learn it when I was younger, but it was before my history. It was before I went down that road, went to college. And unfortunately, I forgot most of the language. I didn't practice. I went and lived in France, in Aix-en-Provence, for 2.5 months. Well, I think it was 2 months, and then like a month and a half, and then a month of traveling through France. So I forget the name of the train, but we went, on that train from Aix-en-Provence. I think we went to Marseille. I'm trying to think from a map perspective. We kind of like, hey, we do have a map here. Can you guys see it up here? Let's see. No, wait, that's way too small. Horrible idea. I should probably just pull up on the screen. Anyway, it was a fun experience, and I regret not keeping tabs on that language. It hasn't been too difficult to relearn, but the time. Our time is so much valuable, and when you got to relearn something that you should have just kept in your memory, for me, it helps me, right? I that may have sounded like a negative thought towards myself, but nah, it's more of a motivational thing. Like, you learned your lesson. Don't do that again. You're going to learn it this time. Don't fucking forget it. You know what I mean? Like, have that mindset and figure out what works for you. Because like I said at the beginning and midway through, everything I'm saying here is things that I've designed for my life, for my mind, right? For my body. I know my diet, not many people can do that diet. Not many people would want to suffer and damn near feel like you're going to die after 30 days in. But, after that, it's been all green. No sicknesses, no nothing. So it's just interesting, right? Everybody's got to figure out their cup of tea, so to speak. What else? Let's see. After that, I would always exercise, right? So I have a little corner in my studio where I got everything I need. Resistance bands, No dumbbells, but I don't really need dumbbells, right? I come from a youth where I was always in the gym, right? I was always trying to be the strongest, bench the most, squat the most. And at a time I did squat the most, more than anybody, right? Maybe it's my Portuguese genes. Maybe we're all just naturally supposed to be soccer players and kick the fucking ball hella far. I don't know. But my legs to this day are still strong as fuck. So, excuse me. You know what's funny is I realize I cuss more when Scott's here. Anybody else notice that? I'd love to drop a comment if you notice that. That's too funny. And then after exercise, so let me explain to you why I placed exercise after all this mental work, right? And why I gave myself enough time to get up to that mental work. So meanwhile, I wake up, turn off my alarm. As much as I'd love to say I was doing it naturally, I was for a little bit, but I would have had to gone to bed no later than 9 p.m., right? For me to wake up at 4 like that with all the energy in the world. So it did take some time, but generally, you know, you wake up, drink all that water, you're going to be pissing like a racehorse, trust. But it gets your body moving. Then after that first hour and a half, by the time you're done exercising, about to go take a shower, right? I generally always take a cold shower after my exercising. The exercising comes after the mental strain because scientific. Now, I don't have the reference, but through a lot of trusted sources, I've learned personally with my body, now everybody's chemistry is different, keep that in mind, that I retain information best if I exercise after I learn. You know what I mean? If I exercise, and now the exercise can vary, but I have to be focused on that exercise. It can't be that half-ass gym session where you go and you're more socializing at the gym. The social butterflies at the gym who go to the gym and they're more there to interact than they are to work on their body. There's a reason I stopped going to the gyms because there's a lot of time wasters there. No offense, forgive me if you feel offended. It's just not my cup of tea. I get in there to get what I need out of the gym and then I get the fuck out, right? So the reason I choose to do that after all of this mental, strain is I retain that information, and I've countless times, like I'll be taking that cold shower, right? And here's another thing in my morning routines that I'm adopting tomorrow is after everything I just told you, cold shower to top it all off. Then after that cold shower, skin prep for the day, right? Because I used to have very bad skin, bad acne. So I learned that if you just prep at the beginning of the day and you're mindful of not touching your face, because I work on a lot of computers sometimes and I'm sometimes touching a dusty ass computer and mouse, or you never know. And then I'll go and scratch my face and rub my lips and wonder why I have all this acne and I'm breaking out, or have all these, this weird shit all over my face. So, I'm more mindful of that. Yeah, let's see. Myself, sometimes with music, protein shake, cold shower, feels great. Yeah, man, it's and that's what works for me, right? And then after that, that's when I'll turn my phone off of. Now, normally when I would go through that flow, that's when I would turn off my airplane mode. And then bam, then I'm ready for the day, right? That would usually, my timing would work out to where that's 7:30 a.m. at the latest. And then I kickstart. Sometimes I have an early meeting. Sometimes I pick up on some new tech or a new article. And then my emails and communications back when I was more IT focused usually started around 8:30 to 9, that time frame. And then after there, phone goes back face down. If I'm working remotely, focus on the next job at hand. Or if I'm going on site, there's my day usually. Sometimes the day is split up between 2 or 3 different offices. But that was generally my morning. And then my evenings are quite simple. I'm wondering if I'm forgetting anything because I did do this all off of memory, but my evenings generally, the first thing that kickstart my evening. Now I remember touching on this at the beginning of the episode, but I'll touch on it again. Is airplane mode first and foremost. Tech goes away, right? And if tech doesn't go away, wear my blue light glasses because a brilliant man in Dr. Andrew Huberman. You guys should go check them out if you don't already. Blue light late at night paired with trying to go to the bed afterwards, you'll notice you can't sleep like right away. Most people, depending on what kind of substances you're taking too. You never know if you're taking a lot of sleeping pills. You probably don't run into this issue. However, for me, I was noticing, like, I'd close my eyes, right? And I would see the outline of the screen, and I would still be able to see whatever it was that I was researching or looking at before bed without the blue light glasses. Now, after practicing with about a month with the blue light glasses on, even if I keep it down to like maybe 15 minutes before I go close my eyes, and it's some light reading, right? It's offline. Maybe it's a PDF I downloaded that I'm telling myself to read before bed. I don't have the same issue. Very interesting. Very interesting. Now, when do you work on monkey bites, right? So I'm explaining to you my old routine of being full-time IT, right? Monkey bites are generally my Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and every day in between. My Tuesdays and Thursdays as of now are the only days I'm making available for consultant-based IT security consulting work. So a lot of it's simple stuff, right? Hardware, software, networking related tasks for small to mid-sized companies. But I already have a few jobs lined up for the end of the year, project-based, right? Very niche. That won't take up as much time as you think, right? I'll generally knock those out in 5 to 7 days over the weekend, right? These types of jobs generally have to happen when the operational hours are not live, right? Because a lot of these businesses, when they go through these upgrades internally, they don't want to do it while they're working. They don't want to do it between the 9 and 5 when they're supporting their clients, when they're generating revenue, right? So those types of projects I plan, they're generally pre-planned 3 to 4 months in advance because it takes a lot out of my schedule and my personal life, right? So, but monkey bites is my everything, Gary. That's funny. And I know we're just talking about routine here. So that's generally by 7 a.m. In the past, I would be good to go. So that's what I'm going to kick off moving forward. Everything I just shared with you. I'm thinking maybe next week I'll touch base. Tomorrow's going to be day 1. So by next Monday, I'll be 7 days straight of waking up again at 4:30 a.m. and 4:20 a.m. and making sure that I go to bed by no later than 10. I know. Sleep is important. And for me, my evening routines normally start around 9, right? 9, 10. So I've found that I really only need 6 to 7 hours to really operate at my best. But I like to always push for 7. As you guys have learned, I like 7s. But honestly, that was not a forced thing. I've noticed that naturally about my life. Anytime I get over 8 hours of sleep, fucking drowsy throughout the rest of the day. I'm miserable. If I get only 5 hours of sleep, yeah, whatever. Like, I'll push through. But when I'm getting between 7, 7.5, 7:45, no more than 8, prime. I'm good to go. I wake up, I have more energy than anybody in this world. It's insane. It's weird. But yeah, I think that's it. I don't know. Drop a note in the comment. I'd love to know what you guys thought about, the flow of this. I know it's completely different, way out of left field than what the show is normally about. But maybe you got to know me a little bit better, and you got to know certain things that I prefer to do with my time. And I just try to optimize mornings to optimize the day as much as possible. So everything I do, I always try to be strategic in, all right, is that going to set me up with some more energy for later in the day? And if it's not, how do I provide my body with the nutrition and energy it needs to push through this seamlessly without friction, right? Even though chances are, when you're developing new habits and routines, there should always be friction. It should be difficult, because if it's not difficult, you're not challenging yourself enough. Guaranteed, right? If you're trying to develop a new habit or routine and it's not difficult to develop, I would start from scratch. That's just me personally. Now, keep in mind, this was the theme of the whole episode. I can't speak for people's chemistries, right? Everybody has different chemistry inside. Everybody has different willpower, different belief systems. So my tips come from my belief systems, come from my experience, come from my wheelhouse. So please don't take anything personally. And yeah, I think we're gonna call it a day. I hope you enjoyed this episode of BitmonkeyTV, where we talk about my personal routines and past routines and a routine my morning routine that I'm going to be picking up again tomorrow morning. So it's going to be interesting. I'm already thinking about what time I'm going to go to bed tonight. I think I'm probably going to start my evening routine around 7 or 8 so that I forcefully get myself to bed before 10. I purposefully, like in preparation for today, I got less sleep last night because I knew I was going to kickstart. And anytime I kickstart something like this and it involves waking up at 4, I always slack on sleep the night before because it helps me get to bed early, get that rest that you need. And yeah, so one last comment here. I like the personal take. Love the 7 agreements. I'll do it with you. I'll always be up by 4. Hey, I love it. So for you, you get to cheat there, Gary. That's awesome. You probably, I'm curious. Drop a comment in the YouTube. What's your normal, anybody watching this, right? What's your normal wake up time? I'd love to hear it, right? What time do you normally go to bed and normally wake up? And do you find that it's good for your life or bad, right? Do you find that you can improve? Like, I'd love to hear. I'd love to interact. I hope you enjoyed this. And if you're rewatching this down the road, please, I encourage you, drop a comment below. We're going to touch on this topic some more. I'd like to touch on it with Scott here because I know that he can pick up a few things that would help improve his routine. And I'm sure the audience can pick up on some more as well. So just having those two perspectives. So 6 a.m. no matter when I go to sleep. So Gary, one of our commenters here in the Twitch, our OGs, I have some friends like that. No matter what time they go to bed, it's a particular time that they wake up. So I'm curious, like, have you tested it, purposely, like trying to almost pull an all-nighter? Let's say you stay up till 3 or 4. Do you still wake up at 6? Be curious to know. Or does your body say, nah, fuck off, I need my rest? You know what I mean? Or is it generally like, between a certain time frame, 9 to 12 a.m., no matter what, you're up at 6? That's cool, man. I'm jealous. I will admit, I was getting to a point like that with the 4:30 a.m., but that was after over 80 days of practicing that new routine, right? It took a while. It didn't take that 20, 30-day myth that you hear being thrown out. I think that number's too soft. I think it really takes 90 solid days of consistent effort to build and develop a new routine and healthy habit in your life, right? So hope you guys enjoyed. That's a wrap for this episode of BitmonkeyTV, episode number 20. My name is Marcelo. Hope you guys have a great day, evening, wherever you're at. Thanks for tuning in. Peace.